Gotta be a couple minutes early. Look at this. Look at this girl. He's ready for the PO. I said. Let's go. I said. Let's go. I said. What's up, girl? How are ya? What's up, dude? What up? What up? You went to like nice shirt. No way. I went to
No, are you serious? Here?
I suck at.
So fish.
I didn't have tickets. I just drove out there. My cousin, she had a wristband.
So that is just such a good guy.
And then we sewed it back on my. And then I went in. I took it off and I got my friend in.
Are you talking about fucking boys?
Yeah, I could.
Go. Here we go.
She took it out.
Never.
Went outside.
Chill.
sewed
Look
it
at
back on her hand.
Sure.
Then we all got
I gotta show face just so everybody can see my shirt.
It's my thing.
Oh my
God, look at that
Those
dance
tickets are
family.
pretty
It's so cute. Look at this freaking family, dude.
I mean, it's worth it. Like,
Yeah.
like just
Those flower power, baby.
Yeah.
And I was just.
I need that, GR. I need it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We're flip this.
Kick ass.
There we go. Hey guys, can you hear me? All right. Do we have someone who can play the law for us for today? If you guys want to get the law started over there, because I can't play it from where I'm at on that big computer in the office there. Was it law number 9 or 10? Did you guys do law 9 last week? We did law 9 last week, so we're on 10? All right, cool. After this, I'll have like 2 pointers, one on recruiting, one on training, and then a mention on retention, and then I'll have some questions for us. So can we share that though? If you guys can share that video, please. Yes, great job. So the law of connection, I believe. And then you got to share it with audio just to make sure.
The 10th law of the 21
Hey,
irrefutable laws of leadership is the law of connection. And the law of connection says leaders touch a heart before, and maybe you need to underline that word before, they ask for a hand. In other words, when you really understand the law of connection, you realize that you have to touch a person emotionally and relationally before they'll ever begin to do things in a physical sense with you. You've got to touch their heart before you ask for their hand. This is a tough law for a lot of leaders because leaders are action-oriented, and a lot of times leaders don't want to mess with the relationship stuff. They don't want to mess with the connection stuff. They just say, look, here's where I'm going, and I want you to go with me, and let's go. And they don't want to do what I call the homework and the preparation needed for relationships. But let me just say this to you. I think to a great degree, relationship is leadership. Let me put it this way. People won't go along with you if they cannot get along with you. You don't want to take a trip with somebody you don't like. You don't want to take a long journey with somebody that you don't get along with. And every one of us know what it's like to work with somebody that we don't get along with. And you know, the good news is that you can work with them. The bad news is you don't want to take a vacation with them. Isn't that right? How many of you know at least one person that you don't want to take a long trip with? Oh, yeah. How many of you are seated beside that person right now? Don't raise that hand. Those second questions I ask you are always IQ questions. Keep your hand down. We all know what it's like. Every one of us know what it's like to have to work with people we don't care for. And that whole relationship, it just doesn't mesh. Now, here's what I'm saying. Leaders understand that they've got to connect with the heart before they can ask the hand. Going back to when I was doing the law of influence, going back to that for a moment, the second level in the laws of influence or the laws of leadership, the second level was the permission level, and that is people do things with you because they like you. So you have to begin to become likable. Starts with your appearance, starts with your face. Don't you just look at some people sometimes and just say, I don't care to meet them? Huh? Haven't you been on an elevator and somebody gets on the elevator and you just look at them? They don't say a word. They haven't said one word. They haven't said a word to you, no one. They just get on the elevator and just look at them and just say, oh, thank God I'm not going home with them. And it amazes me, especially leaders who have to be in the people business, it amazes me how many of those leaders aren't good with people. And I just want to go up to them and I say, man, you don't have a shot at this. You're never going to be successful as a leader because people don't relate to you, not connected with them. That's why, 4 or 5 years ago, I wrote a book called Becoming a Person of Influence. And I wrote the book, Becoming a Person of Influence, and people look at it and they say, it's a relationship book because I talk about 10 ways to influence people. Well, it is a relationship book. You know what it really is? It's a soft leadership book. It teaches you how to influence others and relate to them because, again, if you do not touch your heart, you will not be able to ask for a hand. Now, this is an area that I love because I love communication and I love connecting. And just let me try to get real practical with you and help you walk through this area of connecting with people. And I would want you to know, before I give you the list, I would want you to know that I think connecting with people is a leader's responsibility. A lot of times I'll run to leaders and they'll say to me, well, my people my people aren't coming along. And when I was a kid, I used to go down to General Electric where they had where they had the shipping area, where trains were coming in and unloading stuff and they're picking up stuff. And I'd love to just go out there and sit and watch the trains come in and couple and uncouple the cars and the whole deal. And you know what I always noticed? I always noticed that the locomotive always was responsible to back up and couple with the other cars. I never one time saw a boxcar running around the track saying, man, where's the locomotive? I know. No. If you're the leader, and by the way, when they would come back in and they would hit those cars, that didn't mean that they connected with those cars. They didn't connect with those cars just because they hit them. Just as you don't connect with people just because you had a meeting. They had to learn to couple those cars. Once in a while, I'll run to a leader and I'll say, well, I had a meeting with him. We had lunch. Hello. You got to connect. You have to couple. So how do you connect with people? Number one, connect with yourself. The first thing to do is to be able to connect with yourself. Let me just put it this way. If you have never connected emotionally with yourself, you'll never be able to connect emotionally with someone else. You have to know yourself. You have to accept yourself. You have to love yourself. You can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. You can't relate to others if you can't relate to yourself. If nobody's home internally, there'll be no one home externally. Connect with yourself. Number two, share with openness and sincerity. What I have found is that it's just best to be open and sincere with people. It develops a sense of trust. Number three, live your message. Very simple. What you ask your people to do, do it. In fact, a leader should never ask his or her people to do something that leader is unwilling to do themselves. Remember, be a tour guide, not a travel agent. Don't send people, take people. Live your message. Flesh it out. They ought to be able not only to hear your words, they ought to be able to see your life. And let me tell you something. Hearing your words and seeing your life ought to be the same. And when what you say and what you do, when your behavior and your words match, it's just tremendous what you can do as far as leading and developing people. Number 4, know your people. Very simple. You cannot lead people until you know them. You have to know what the keys to their life is. You have to understand what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. You got to spend, and the only way that you can know your people is to spend time with your people. That's why leaders walk slowly through the crowd. What was it? Many, many, many years ago. Management by walking around. Boy, that became huge, didn't it, across America? But it's just a trick. It's a great concept. Still is. Walk slowly through the crowd. Spend time with your people. Understand them. Get to know who they are. Know their strengths, their weaknesses. If I could stop right now and ask you as a leader, what are the key points of the people that you lead? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What do they do well? What do they love? What do they buy into? What don't they buy into? What are their values? If I could ask those kind of questions, would you be able to give me answers, or would you just be giving kind of shots in the dark on your people? See, leaders understand that you don't lead everybody the same way. People have different strengths, different giftnesses, different desires, different goals. And the great leaders understand the only way you can lead people effectively is by knowing them well. So know your people. Number 5, communicate on their level. Don't communicate on your level. Come down to where they are. Understand what they're thinking. The expression I have is put the cookies on the lower shelf. Let everybody have one. Don't be an educator. An educator takes something simple and makes it complicated. Be a communicator. Take something complicated and make it simple. Get it down to their level so they can understand it and grab hold of it. Number 6, give yourself totally to the people and the message. Whatever your vision is, whoever your people are, give yourself to both. Don't be a leader that buys into the vision and not the people. A leader that buys into the vision and not the people will be a leader who has a vision only for himself or herself. And don't be a person that buys in the people and not the vision. The good news is you have great relationships, but you aren't going anywhere. Buy into the vision and the people. Both are essential. Number 7, believe totally in the people and the message. Believe totally in the message and the vision and the people. Here's what I love, and I think it's very true. It's wonderful when the people believe in the leader, but it's even more wonderful when the leader believes in the people. Be a leader that believes in your people. Number 8, share how the vision or the message has touched you. The only way that anyone else will buy into the lesson, the message, the vision, the mission that you're on, the only way they'll ever buy in it is if you say, look, here's what it's doing for me. Here's the areas of change I'm bringing in my life to bring this vision to pass. Always let them see how it has positively affected you before you ask them to let it positively affect them. And number 9, offer direction and hope. Come alongside of them and offer direction and hope. And remember this, leaders are dealers in hope. Somebody comes up to you and say, what are you? You say, I'm a hope dealer. A classic example of the law of connection is Herb Kelleher, the CEO of Southwest Airlines. Several years ago, I think it was in USA Today, I read these following words, and I want you to see them because this is classic law of connection. Thanks, Herb. This was paid for by his 16,000 employees on Boss's Day. Thanks, Herb, for remembering every one of our names, for supporting the Ronald McDonald House, for helping load baggage on Thanksgiving, for giving everyone a kiss, and we mean everyone, for listening, for running the only profitable major airline, for singing at our holiday party, for singing only once a year, for letting us wear shorts and sneakers to work, for golfing at the Love Classic with only one club, for out-talking Sam Donaldson, for riding your Harley-Davidson into Southwest headquarters, for being a friend, not just a boss. Happy Boss's Day from each one of your 16,000 employees. That's the law of connection.
There we go. All right, you got to ask for what? Got to ask for the heart before you ask for someone's hand. That's what he started out with. What did you guys get? Any quotes? Anything you'd like to point out before we move on?
Yeah, I like to live your message. He was saying like what you ask people to do, you need to do yourself. So I like thought back of how we always say like leading from the front. Like don't ask someone to do something you wouldn't do, or like put in the work you wouldn't put in. So that was good.
Huge. That's huge in leadership. And I always think to myself, like somebody asked me a question, I usually say, well, what I would do would be this. You could do what you want to do, but just here's what I would do, you know, because then it's just you're speaking from what he's talking about is like, it's not usually when somebody asks me a question, it's not usually here's what I would do. It's usually here's what I did. When I was in your situation, here's what I did. Here's how it worked, you know, speaking from experience. So a lot of times you get to speak from experience, you know, obviously when you have the experience, and that's what a lot of people kind of shy away from, and they don't realize, you know, what we're doing is gaining the experience. So sometimes when, I don't know, something controversial, something you don't want to do, something you don't want to deal with comes up, you avoid it. That's human nature. So what we have to recognize though is that, you know, I need to go through this tough situation. I need to get through it because someone one day is going to be asking me how they can get through it, because they're going to be in the same situation. Like I would think to myself, someone is going to be sitting across from me and looking at me like, what do I do, man? Like I don't know what to do. And I'm like, don't worry, I've been there, you know. And good news is when I went through what you're going through, I didn't go curl up in the ball in the corner and cry. All right. So I'm going to be able to tell you what I did to come through and not even make it through this thing, but we're going to make it through. We're going to make it through on top. So the toughest situations, that's what I had to tell myself. And then I buckled down and I went through them just so that if I had to help somebody else one day get through them, I would be able to do so, you know, and that allows you to connect with people is because you got a lot of experience, you know. You guys ever see the commercial for the most interesting man in the world? Anybody know who he is? No? Okay. We should look up, somebody got a YouTube, a commercial for the most interesting man in the world while we're on this call. So whoever's behind the computer in the office, give us some love on it. All right, go for it. And whenever you get it, we'll share it and play it just for the heck of it. All right. But the most interesting man in the world, he is the spokesperson he's a character they made up for Dos Equis. Dos Equis is a beer. I think it's Mexican. So I think to myself about this guy, and I'm like, they show him doing so much stuff. Like one day he's skiing, one day he's flying a plane, the next day, you know, he's dancing, he's bowling, he bowled a perfect game. He threw 16 bullseyes in a row. You know what I mean? Like he's the most interesting man. He's done it all. And I think like, how do you become interesting is you must once have been interested. That guy must have been so interested in everything. Things must have fascinated him to a point to where he wanted to indulge in everything to the highest level. And he was so, he's like, wow, that guy threw a strike. Bowling. He got really interested in bowling, became #1 bowler. Then darts. The only reason he got good at skydiving, they show him skydiving. They show him, you know, dancing with girls and, riding horses. Like He's the most interesting man in the world. He's done it all. He knows a lot about a lot. That allows you to connect with anybody. You could, while walking down the street, this guy, whatever he did, you probably have something to relate back to him. So people that are reserved, people that like don't want to be interested, people that don't want to, like, oh, I'm no good at bowling, I'm not going to bowl. What if I hurt my finger? Like the people that stay on the sidelines and they don't go out there and experience stuff because they're not truly interested in experience stuff, then they ultimately do not become very interesting. They don't have an interesting life. They don't have the experiences to pull upon. So if you're sitting at the bus stop next to somebody, you have just so much in your life. They're like, he's like, oh, I did this, that, and another. And out of the 3 things he did, you're like, oh, I could relate to 2 of them. And you got stories to back it up. And it just makes, or somebody that you know did it. So, I was always a big fan of the name game when I was trying to connect with people. You guys know the name game? The name game is basically where you just sit there and you find out where you finally find a name that you know in common. That's it, right? So you just say like, I don't know, you meet a waitress or someone at the store, right? So I would ask them, usually I ask them, where are you from? And they'll be like, I went to high school in Philadelphia, and I just, and I said, oh, so you grew up in Philadelphia? It's like, oh yeah, okay, great. I'm like, what part of town? You're like, oh, like, not north side Philly, but, kind of by that area. I'm like, oh, do you know King of Prussia? I'm like, yeah. Like that. I used to have an office over in King of Prussia. No, oh yeah. Oh, nice, right. You ever go to any Sixers games? Okay. You know the one guy, TJ McConnell, he used to play for you guys? Yeah. He is from Pittsburgh. That's where I'm from. Yeah. What, TJ McConnell, his dad coached the girls basketball team at my high school. That was pretty cool. So that guy played for you guys. Oh yeah, you go to Sixers games? And before you know, I found a name of somebody that we both know. That's it. A name of somebody that we both know. And from that point, we made a small little connection, and then I could go anywhere from there. At least we had something to talk about, right? So like, oh, where are you from? Oh, you just ask them where they're from. And then find something to find a name. Sometimes it works for me, So I'm just giving you some things that can help you over time, over the next 10 years. You got to be building your repertoire. And and here's what's cool about doing the business is that you're gonna meet so many people that you have no business ever meeting. There's no way. I'm like, when I got the leads, they were sending me to Uniontown. I was going to West Virginia. Like, you got to get your West Virginia license. And then I was driving to West Virginia and I was meeting with people up in the mountains. They call it the Mountaineers. They're the West Virginia Mountaineers. That's the name of the college, right? So you realize when you go down there why they call them the Mountaineers, because it's all mountains. So you go to one house, you drive all the way up, get to the guy's house on the mountain, and then you look at your thing, and your next appointment is it's like on the next mountain over. So you got to drive all the way down, go through the valley, and then drive all the way back up and get to the other guy's house. And I was kind of hopping from mountain to mountain out there. But I was meeting with people that I never in my life would ever have any reason to even speak to, let alone develop a deep conversation, a relationship, So it exposed me to people that, and that's something that, sometimes you might be like, oh man, I got to go see this person. When if you're thinking about it, you should be excited because you get to go meet somebody brand new that you never met with, that they're going to affect you. Because they say, the person you are 5 years from now is going to be the books that you read and the people that you hang out with. And I forget the last one, but I know one of them was the people that you hang out with. So, I know that over the last 10 years, man, I've done so many in-home presentations. I've met with people, and believe me, I don't just sell like life insurance. I talk to the people. I get to know them. I know their kids' names. Like, I know what they're good at. The last person that I made a sale from, which I was thinking about calling them today, it was at my house. This was very recently. I made a sale. We trialed the deal, but I was talking to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, my wife, she's big into plants." I was like, "No way." I was like, "You think you can get your wife down here?" And we got the wife down there, and I took my phone around my house, and I was showing her all my plants, and I told her the story about how they all are dying right now. So maybe Marquise, you can give me some pointers on this one. But just to show my loyalty, guys, like I have loyalty tattooed on my ribs, right? And just to show the loyalty, I moved out here, and in my house, I had my plants still. The movers could not get the plants out here. So the closing on my house was coming down to the wire. And I'm like, I got to go back. I pushed it off as long as I could. The plants were in great condition. My mom was watering them. So I flew back on an airplane, rented a U-Haul, drove to the house, hired a guy to come with me, my mom and dad's friend. Me and him carried these big ass plants, like sliding them on things, trying to get them out of them, put them on cart on like little rugs. We're sliding them out of the house, trying to get them out of there. Huge. They're my babies. I had them since I started with this company. When I started with this company, they said this. They said, "We are about to blow up, and he said, you see this map?" Simon's like, "You see this map?" He's like, "We're going to have offices all over this map. So you might as well just get a sleeping bag and be at the office." I went home that day, and I was like, "Mom," this is like Thursday night after call night. I said, "Mom, I need to go get an apartment this weekend." So I went out Thursday or Friday, all day Friday, found a place, and they let me move in Sunday. And it was right next to the office. So once I moved into that place right next to the office, I got the nicest place there. I had no business getting it. This was my first month here. I got $1,600 a month, place for myself, 2-bedroom. And for me, that was a lot at the time. So I moved the very next day, and then I put these plants in there. That was the first thing I did. I got like a couch, and I got some plants, I swear. And these plants have been with me the whole ride. And I've added like 2 or 3 more along the way. And they're big. Like one of them's 10 feet tall. So I bring them back and put them in the truck. And then that night I parked it at my mom's house. And that night there was a freeze. Temperatures went really, really low. And then me and my dad woke up the next day, hopped in the truck, and just drove to Chicago. And it was cold. I didn't realize, I don't know what's going on. Nobody tell me this stuff. I didn't realize. I should have known. And so I bring them back, and I pull them out of the truck, which is, they were in there, not that, they were in there for maybe 24 hours. And we put them in the house, and they're all droopy, and now they're brown and they're dying. So, I don't know what to do. But anyways, I was showing her this stuff, and boom, we were able to make a connection over that, because she did plants, so we did plants, stuff like that. But the point is every house you talk to, if you just go through the motions, then 10 years are going to go by, and you're going to not be changed at all. Allow the clients to touch you. You go touch the clients, and make the connection with them. And now, talking about leadership, we're leading people in the homes. That's the first place that the leadership starts in the business, really, because if you can't lead the people in the homes, then you're not going to be able to lead other people to lead them into the homes. I think it's like, you can get the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. It's kind of like, that's what you're doing in the house. You're leading that horse to the water, and then you're making it their idea to drink. Like, that's how I would sell. My clients, I was by the end, it was their idea. They think it was their idea, at least. I make it their idea, and that's consultative selling. That's the best type. Where we're not shoving it down somebody's throat. You know, and then also the basic fundamentals though of using the assumptiveness at the end to make sure that they get the coverage. So, but in leadership, now we're talking about having somebody follow us for an extended period of time. So that connection is something that you don't just do like one time in a home. That's just something that you just build on and build on and build on. And the faster you can build the connection, the faster you're going to help build the trust. You know, when I think of connection, I think of trust. And if I tell, you know, Jay Vaughn, I do this analogy all the time. You probably heard it a million times, you know, but it's like the trust edge, the trust factor in business, they say. It's that if you trust the person that you're in business with and they trust you, the business and you and everybody moves a lot faster. Everything moves faster. Communication, everything. People are a lot more active, more decisive, just like we talked about in the 13, you know, secrets of world-class goal achievers. They said to the number 8 or whatever, I think it was number 8, whatever it was being decisive. Well, I think some businesses, some teams, you'll see this as we grow. You know, you'll see some teams that just move faster. They're like, they just move faster. And some teams move slower. And trust has something to do with that. The speed of the leader has something to do with that. So if we could just talk about alacrity for a little bit, guys. Let's talk about alacrity. I'm pretty sure that's the word. I'm pretty sure the word is alacrity. It's, at least I could remember my coach yelling at me, telling me, come on, hurry up. We got to move with more alacrity. I just remember him saying that. So I'm pretty sure it means to move with some speed up. Maybe somebody can, you know, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if we're using correct terminology on this. I think Jay Vaughn got that before when he was younger. You know, if you played some ball and you had an old school coach, they probably pulled that one out on you. So anyways, you know, teams that move with more speed, more alacrity, they're faster. It's the speed of the leader, because the pack is only going to move as fast as the lead wolf. Hands down. So if you're with a leader that moves fast, it can be tough sometimes, but be happy. I get information and I want to hurry up and call a team huddle and just tell everybody about the information as soon as I get it. And that's good and bad. So at first, as soon as I would hop out of a meeting like this, you know, if I had 2 leaders on my team, I'm like, dude, I got some fire about connection. You know, let's talk about, and I would like, they'd be like, dude, I'm in the middle of phone calls. I'm driving, you know, and I'm like, oh, I got to tell you right now. And I didn't place my meetings properly. So what I start doing now is I take stuff throughout the week and I'm like, all right, this is manager meeting stuff. Put that in my manager meeting notes. You know, this is agency meeting stuff. I'm gonna put this in the agency meeting notes, you know? And then I start placing the messages throughout the week and you know, where more appropriate times to where I'm not repeating myself as much too. So in leadership, you want to try and utilize your time as best as possible, obviously, and avoid having to repeat yourself. So that's why like meetings kind of suck, because there's a whole bunch of people getting the message. But I promise you that if it was just me and Marquise on the call right now, I'd be saying the same thing. But sometimes people feel like it's not being said to them, you know, because it's not just me and Marquise on the call. So that's where sometimes we can't do everything in meeting format. You do everything because you're just like, I'm too busy, we're too busy, we got to grow, you're busy, to save time, let's all get in here, I'll tell everybody the message. And that's good, but there's some things you're going to want to do individually. Like I think getting someone's commitment for the month you know, if you sat down with them, went over and then got their individual, what they're going to do on paper and everything is a little bit stronger than having everybody come into a room and give it all at the same time, you know? So, but I think both. But so utilizing the your time better. Teams that move faster, communication. What I've usually like for instance, I told you it was a strength and a weakness of mine, because as soon as I would meet with Simon, our state director, he would give us everything we needed to know, all the juice, everything, boom, 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 boom. And there were 4 other managers in that meeting, guys. I would watch one of those managers walk out of that meeting and go smoke cigarettes. I would watch one of those managers walk out of that meeting and go meet with their assistant or something. You know, one of the managers walked out and start making sales calls. I would take all that information and I'll immediately get it right to my people, because I knew the faster I can get this information to them, the faster we can act on it. At least the faster they can digest it. I don't want them digesting the message at 3 o'clock during the team meeting on a Monday when I could give it to them at 9 a.m. I just met with the state director at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 9 o'clock in the morning on the Monday. I got all the stuff that we need to do for the week. Why won't I get that into their hands? Now, if I can tell Christina, hey, here's the plan for the week at 9 o'clock, she got all day to digest it. Versus the other guy put it in his notes and said, I'll tell everybody at the team meeting at 3 o'clock. Your guys are making phone calls all night. They don't even have time to digest or game plan what you talked about for the whole week or the month. So I'm telling you, it's the timing and it's the speed in which you can get the information, and you could get the information and clearly communicate that to the team. But we don't want it to be completely erratic. It still has to be a consistent message on a consistent basis, but it has to be constant. See, the teams that communicate better communicate faster, but the teams that communicate most communicate better. So the more that you communicate with your people, the better you're going to get at it. So when you have an opportunity to tell somebody on your team something, take it as an opportunity to just, hey, this is another chance for me to talk to my dude today. I already talked to him this morning, talked to him earlier. I get to call him again, talk about convention. Oh, sunglasses. Let me call him again. Tell him to bring the sunglasses. You know, suntan lotion. I can't bring, got to get the SPF, at least what? SPF 30 is the minimum you got to get out there. You know, don't forget to bring a hat. And then you might have to call him 6 times, but those are good things. Be happy you got somebody to call and communicate with. Some people like to avoid that, or they'll text it or email, and that's cool sometimes, but that's good. So the more you communicate, the better you're going to be at it. And the better you do it, the faster you're going to be able to communicate, because your message, you're going to be better, faster at communicating, and they're going to be faster at digesting and receiving, you know? So I find that teams that move faster, number one, they got a leader that moves fast. You know, that's why Geo isn't GIO. It's just Geo, go. The dude just goes. He's on go. There's no off button. There's not even a brake on his car. Like, I don't even know how he stops when he drives. It's bumping into, but so he's the leader. He has to move fast with everything. But one thing is communication. Like, as soon as I get the message to him, he gets that to the key people immediately, you know, in the right facet. Trust is another thing. That's why teams move faster, right? But also, guys, teams move faster with, I'll say, quantity due to big thinking because of the leader. If you work for Grant Cardone, you think getting one hire a week is going to be acceptable? No. He has a book. His book called the 10X Rule. So I think that he would be a phony, he would be a fraud, and he would be a fake if he allowed people around him to move with a small quantity of action and results. So his team's going to move faster because he thinks bigger and demands a higher quantity. Because here's how fast you move. Ready? You recruit one person a week. 2 years now, you recruited 100 people, right? You recruit 5 people a week. 2 years from now, you recruited 500 people. 2 years went by, you got 500 people over here. 2 years went by, you got 100 people over here. So essentially what you just did in 2 years is what it would take you 10 years over here. See how much faster we just moved? This guy's moving, but look at the pace they're moving at. Yeah, they'll be there. It's going to take them 10 years. You're moving at a faster pace. Took you how long? 2 years. Same destination. Somebody must have been moving faster, right? How are they moving faster? Well, because they were doing 5, they were doing 1. It's called quantity. So you can literally hop into a time machine in AIL. Hop into a time machine in AIL and get faster in AIL. But what's happened when you hop in an AIL time machine, you hop out of here and you go into the real world. You do the AIL time machine, 5 years here, it gets you 50 years out there. You hop out, you're like, whoa. I mean, literally, I don't know how long it would have took me to do what the heck I just did in the last 10 years. I'll figure it out. We could figure it out one day. But like if I was a real person doing what my dad did, making 50, 70, 80, 100, maybe get a little promotion, I would have busted my butt and, did what I needed to do and maybe got up to 100 grand a year somewhere, somehow, some way, but at that point, like how long would it really take for, to get $22,000 a month in residual income? Can anybody spit it out real quick? How much do you need? All right, to get $2,500 a month in residual income, how much money do you need to have saved up in a 401k, in an IRA, in a savings account? In a traditional retirement situation where you have money saved up, okay? You save up your money and then you live off of that money. If you have $1 million saved up and you want to live off that money, you can take $2,500 a month. So you'll live about 30 grand a year. 3%. And if you want to know the math on it, you should have that $1 million invested and hopefully you're getting like maybe 5%. And then you live off of 3. So it should grow by 2%. Maybe you get 1%, it grows by, you get 4%, you live off of 3, it grows by 1%. So what's happening there, your principal is not going to really get eaten into from what you're taking out. But the one problem you're going to run into, guys, is inflation. So you got to take into consideration a 3% to 4% inflation rate as well. So your money will be getting into it in a little bit, but you should be okay. So beyond that, let's just go back to the numbers and the facts. Okay. So you got $1 million saved up, you get $2,500 a month. So if you have $2 million saved up, you can live off of 5 grand a month. If you got $4 million saved up, you can live off of 10 grand a month. So if you have $8 million saved up, you can live off of 20 grand a month. So for me, I would have to have $8 million saved up. And then I can retire with 20 grand a month. I don't know how I would have done that over the last 12 years of my life. I mean, essentially, I would have had to save $780,000 a year or something like that. Think about it. Save $8 million in 10 years. You have to save 800 grand a year. So first of all, you'd have to make 800 grand and then literally save every nickel of it. But the problem is, guys, is when you save your money into traditional retirement accounts, what happens now? You get tax benefits. They're called qualified accounts. It's an account. It's not an investment. Don't get those confused. People go, hey, when I put my money into an IRA, what kind of return do those get? Like, what do you mean? An IRA is an account. It's an account. That's all it is. You just put your money in an account. It's called an individual retirement account. That's what an IRA is. When you put the money in that account, then you can invest it in whatever you have available to do so. If you put it with me, when I was a financial advisor, I had a brokerage account, brokerage house. So I could put it into anything. I could put your IRA into cash. I could put it into bonds. I could buy stock in there. I could put it into mutual funds, exchange traded funds, unit investment trusts. We could have did anything with your money. And whatever I invested in, that's what return you're going to get. I could put it in large cap stock. If large cap stock's booming right now, you might get 10%. If it's down, you might get negative 5%. So what kind of return does your IRA get? Depends on what your IRA is invested into. You could put it all in a Tesla stock. But the key is when the money goes in that thing, you get tax benefits now, which means you don't have to pay taxes on the money that you put into it if it's a traditional IRA, and then you don't have to pay taxes on the growth. So I could buy Tesla, make a big profit on it, sell it, take that profit, and just keep buying more stock inside this thing and never pay taxes on it. If I had that money in what's called a non-qualified account, qualified account is an IRA, a 401k. A qualified account means that account qualifies for tax benefits. Okay? Qualifies for tax benefits. So the government, the IRS, is going to allow you to have a couple loopholes with taxes on your money. It's cool. But there's also going to be a couple rules and restrictions that come along with that. If you want to play that, they say, if you want to play the game, we'll let you do this, but can't do that now. So if you put your money into a qualified account, you don't pay taxes as the money grows, which is great. You don't pay taxes on the money today. So if I make 100 grand, the government's gonna you got to pay taxes on that 100 grand. I'm like, wow, I'm actually going to take 30 grand and I'm going to put it into a SEP IRA. Now the government's going to say, okay, well, you only made 70 grand this year. So I only have to pay taxes. If I put money into an IRA up front, you don't pay taxes on that money for the year. So I don't pay taxes on that 30 grand today. I don't pay taxes on it while it grows. I can buy and sell and it grow, buy and sell. No taxes, no taxes, no taxes, no short-term capital gains, no long-term capital gains, nothing's in, no interest, no taxes on the interest in there, because you get taxed on interest. You get taxed on long-term capital gains. You get taxed on short-term capital gains. If you have that in a non-qualified account. So if you go on E-Trade right now, and you go online and you open up a stock account, okay? That's a non-qualified account. That qualifies for no tax benefits. So if you buy Pepsi stock at $10 and then you sell it at $20, you have to pay taxes, boom, on that $10 what? Gain. Now, what type of gain was it, guys? Was it a short-term capital gain? Or was it a long-term capital gain? If it was a short-term capital gain, you have to pay taxes on that at what level? Does anybody know? It's taxed as income for the year. So whatever tax bracket you're in, I believe this is how it was when I was in the game. whatever tax bracket you're at, they're going to tax that as income for you. So if you're in a 30% tax bracket, you might have made $10, but you have to pay 30% on it. You really made $7. Now, if it's a long-term capital gain, it's 15% flat tax. What's the difference? A short-term capital gain is something that you buy and sell within the 1 year. Within 1 year. So if I buy Pepsi stock this year and I sell it this year and I make a gain, I have to pay taxes on that as a short-term capital gain. And that's taxed as what? Income. If I buy Pepsi stock and I hold it for 365 days plus and then sell it, then I have to pay capital gains on that long-term capital gains. Long-term. That's 15% flat. Now, don't quote me on that. It might have changed. Might have changed. There's a couple presidents since I've been in the game. Who knows? There might be some wacky stuff right now going on. Who knows with these people? But anyways, so the idea on this now is people like to put the money into the qualified accounts because they don't have to pay taxes on all that stuff. But here's the kicker, right? Put your money in there. You can't take it out to your 59 and a half. What? For me, that's 22 years from now. I don't want my money locked up over there. That's nuts. I want my money where I can get to it because I know I'm moving into a new development. I'm moving. All the houses where I move are going to be $2 million. Don't you think there's going to be some players over there? Don't you think people are making some business moves? Somebody's going to have something going on. At least that's my thought process, but if you're not looking for a red car, you ain't going to see a red car. I'm already going into that apartment. I'm going into the thing before I even moved there. I'm like, tons of opportunity. I know I'm going to meet somebody over here. We're going to do some shit. I'm going to have money set aside. It ain't going to be an IRA where I can't touch till I'm 59 and a half. I'll tell you that much. Right? Don't worry about putting your money in that stupid ass. Don't quote me. You do what you want with it. Forget that. But I'm just telling you, like, I had 60 grand in a SEP IRA because my financial advisor talked me into it because I used to be a financial advisor. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And then I realized after just listening to billionaires like Grant Cardone, listened to the guy for years, and all kind of other people, Tony Robbins. And I realized like, that's like what you do if you just have so much and you have like need to hide money. Like you have so much that you need to like almost like hide it. You might throw it in there just throw an extra 60 grand a year in this SEP IRA because you can put 60 grand into a SEP IRA. You could do 5 or 6 into a traditional. So I didn't use the traditional. I used the SEP. I was using a Roth IRA, and that's something I wouldn't even tell you not really to. It's only 5-6 grand a year. So if you're making some good money, 5-6 grand a year, it's like putting it under your pillow. It's like burying it in your backyard. You won't miss it. I would slide that 5-6 grand a year into a Roth IRA while you can do it. But the thing is, it's like contradictory because if once you start making $150,000 a year as a household, if you're married, you can't use a Roth IRA. So it's like I wouldn't even want to use a Roth IRA until I'm making big bucks. So I need to slide the money aside. Once I'm doing that, you're not allowed to use it anymore because you make the restrictions. So there's restrictions on that stuff as well. So they don't want the rich people getting richer, I guess, because what that does is it allows you to hide the money for tax to your when you take the money out, it's tax free. So back to the numbers, and the qualified and non-qualified. Everybody got that, right? Well, you can't take the money out to your 59 and a half, right? Check this out real quick. Let's stay on this real quick. If you put your money in there and it's growing and it's rocking and you never take the money out, okay? When you reach 72 and a half, guess what they make you do? They make you take the money out. It's called mandatory distributions. This is important. You guys need to know this. Okay. I'll give you some fire on it. I'll give you some real quick fire. Okay. All right, guys. So when we retire, most people's money is going to be saved up in a taxable area. When we retire, most people's money is going to be saved up in a taxable area, in taxable areas. Just like we talked about, they're going to be in traditional retirement accounts, like traditional IRAs, 401ks, annuities. All of those investments, they don't pay taxes on them. Remember, we went over this, right? You don't pay taxes up front. So if you don't pay up front, when you think you pay? They're going to get you on the back end, right? This is how you say stuff to clients too. You say, Joe, you can put all that money. So most of our clients, you say the concern is most of our clients' money is in the institutions. It's in the 401ks, the IRAs, it's in these big investment institutions, and they're all in fully taxable areas for retirement. Okay. So the problem was when we go to retire, all of our income is going to be taxed as income. All the money we need to live off is going to be taxed as income. So you could go like this, guys. If you write this down, you could write down, you could say, if you need to live off of $100,000, okay, you're probably going to need to pull out of your retirement accounts $130,000, or I would do 135 actually, but you have to do $130,000. And I go like this, and I write 130, and underneath is 100. And I'll say, because you're going to have to pay about $30,000 in what? Taxes. Exactly, Joe. You see how I phrase that? I've said that a million times. For instance, Joe, if you wanted to retire and live off $100,000, you'd have to pull that out of your retirement. But in order to live off 100,000, you're probably going to have to pull out 130,000, because you're going to have to pay about $30,000 in what? Taxes. Exactly, right? And I go like this. What if I could show you a way to where you can get the same $100,000, but instead of pulling 130, you could maybe pull 110 or 115,000. That way, you can save $20,000 a year in taxes. Now, for most of my clients, they retire around 65. And if you live from 65 to 100, that's 35 years. And if we could save our family, because it's either going to go to us or Uncle Sam. So if we could save our family $20,000 a year, that could be $700,000 that would go back to our family over the course of our retirement by doing it proactively. The thing is if we wait until we retire, it's too late. So the concern is the taxes. Right now, when you go to retire, all of your money's in a taxable area. So what if we can get it to where some of your money's still in a taxable area? Yes. But what if we can get it to where some of your money was in a non-taxable area? So Joe, there's really only 3 places that you can put your money that you can get tax-free money in retirement. The first way is a Roth IRA. Whatever you put into a Roth IRA, you pay taxes on that money today. You put that money in there, never pay taxes on it again. That's the opposite of a traditional IRA. traditional IRA, you don't pay taxes today. You put the money in there, it grows tax deferred, but when you pull the money out, now we're taxed as income. And that's where most people's money's at, is in areas like that. Roth IRA is different. So the first place you can put money to get tax-free money in retirement is a Roth IRA. You pay the taxes today, put the money in there, it grows tax deferred, and then you're able to take that out tax-free. Pay taxes today, never pay taxes again. The second place you can put your money is called munis, municipal bonds. See, municipal bonds are tax-free because they have what's called triple tax exemption. They're triple tax exempt, Joe, which means that a municipal bond means that a local municipality, like it's a local community, okay, inside the state. It's like a city or a municipality inside a state. They are offering local bonds. They're issuing local bonds to the government, municipal bonds, or to the public, I'm sorry. And the public can buy this bond, and basically they're trying to raise money. So they need to raise money. So they sell these bonds and they'll say, you give us this money and then we'll pay you back the money that you gave us plus interest. That's what a bond does, right? And since you're doing it for the local government, then when we pay you back the money, you don't have to pay no local taxes on it. So it's local taxes, no local taxes, number one. And the state says, since you're helping out our state, that's a great thing to help out the state. Instead of investing your money with Pepsi, because Pepsi's offering bonds too, it's 6%. We'll offer you guys 5% but no tax. So state, no state taxes. And they have it negotiated right now where you don't pay any federal taxes either. So state, local, state, and federal, you don't pay any taxes on the interest, gains, or dividends paid out through municipal bonds. Some of them are dividend paying as well. And you don't have, and the thing is, you can buy a municipal bond and put it in your brokerage account. It don't matter. You don't have to have it in any sort of special account. That's what's nice about it. You can buy as much as you want. And obviously, guys, you ready? There's three of them, that you can set aside money for retirement that'll come back to you tax-free. We got Roth IRA, municipal bonds, and CVLI, cash value life insurance. What our company does, we specialize in whole life coverage, and I explained to them why we work with all the unions, and the unions need to make sure there's something guaranteed for their members. Okay, and ours, so you explain to them cash value. You explain to them that with a cash value life insurance, okay, what happens, not only does it provide life insurance for your family, which most families really, really need, but it also builds cash inside. And when you become older, you're able to borrow against that cash and take your cash out tax-free. So this is what a lot of families use. And this is how the wealth, transfer wealth from generation to generation, is through the life insurance. What they call this is, see, once you start making a lot of income, you're not able to use a Roth IRA anymore. So what they do is the people that make a lot of income, they put it into the cash value life insurance. You know what they call it? They basically call it the rich man's Roth. Does that make sense why they call it the rich man's Roth? Because he can't use the Roth anymore. So that's what they use now to start hiding all their money tax free. And it's a strategy. And here's the nice thing about this thing is like, if I wanted to leave, 70 grand to my family, I would have to save 70 grand of my money. And then I'd leave it to them. And then what happened though, is when it goes from cash goes from generation to generation, it gets what? It gets taxed, inheritance tax, right? So what the rich found out is instead of saving 70 grand, what they found out, I don't know about that tax code 7022 at all. That's CVLI means cash value life insurance. It's just a thing. I don't tax code 7022. I have no clue what that was. Matt Jans was asking about. I never heard of that one.
I'll show you.
But anyways, what was I talking about? There's the heck was you?
You
Was I
said
saying?
instead of saving 70 grand.
Yeah. So what you can do is basically if you take like a 35-year-old, you could show a 35-year-old that you're going to put in about 35 grand from now until 65, and then never pay another penny again and get a guaranteed paid up option of 72,000, 77 grand, whatever the paid up is. So the rich realize, like, if I'm going to shove my money somewhere and I need to go to my family, instead of me saving 70 and then it getting taxed and they only get 50, why don't I just set aside 30 and they'll get 70 tax free? Are you kidding me? This is what we got to educate people on. And this is what a lot of people don't know, because they're worried about paycheck to paycheck. And we never, before you know it, 30 years go by and we never did nothing about it. That's why you got to say, most people don't plan to fail. The concern and the problem is that they fail to plan. And that's why they have this plan in place for you and all the other members. They call this a union plan for the union man. This is the family plan for the family man. And what's the most important thing in the world to you, Joe? If I had to ask you, family, of course, I know, I could tell. Anytime we talk about your kids, dude, you guys light up. You light up, man. You guys are the best. I could just tell you're amazing parents. I could just tell, and boom, I go into stuff with them like that. And I'll say, hey, and I always ask my clients this, and I like telling them, I like saying that line. I always ask my clients this, or most of my clients, when I meet, a lot of my clients say this, like dropping those lines in there are huge, because it makes it look like you're meeting with what? A lot of clients, So I always ask them about a lot of my clients. I always ask them, what would you say your family's worth to you if you had to put a price on? And guess what everybody usually tells me? Priceless, right? So I know we can't put a price, on our family. Fortunately, they were able to put a price on protecting the family, though, which was just $187 a month, less than a cable, less than a cell phone bill. I think the average AT&T bill is over $220 a month right now. So the thing is, with AT&T though, you could pay $220 a month for 10 years and pass away. You know what they're going to give you? Another bill for $220 a month, right? This is going to pay your family hundreds of thousands of dollars. And don't forget concept, guys. I know we talk life insurance a lot, but we gotta remind, we gotta just make sure we're selling the concept. I don't really, I don't really want them thinking that much like, oh, I got this $50,000 policy. I want them thinking like, I got my freedom of choice certificate. I don't want them thinking like, I got this $180,000 term life policy. No, this is my paycheck protection, man. When I pass away, I make 30 grand a year. When I pass away, my family's going to get the income for the next 5 to 6 years. Mortgage protection, so don't forget the concepts that really that sometimes sells people. I've sold people that they didn't even know it was life insurance. Like they didn't even realize it was life insurance. They were so caught up on the concept of, so when I die, how they're going to get what? $5,000 a month? Yeah, about 60 grand a year. You know, it's a $300,000 policy. You know, but it's, you know, whatever. But it's just the concept. So don't forget to talk about that as well. But anyways, guys, we say all that just to get back to it real quick. Okay, now, all right, is if you think about it now, Joe and Mary, think about this, Joe and Mary. Everybody saves all their money into qualified accounts. Everybody's retirement money is in the institutional large 401k investments. Why? Because that's what they told everybody to do. What do you think that baby boomers did? Right now, all the baby boomers are now in retirement. And where did they tell all the baby boomers to put their money? 401ks and pensions and IRAs. There is more institutional money in the retirement accounts of the United States today than ever before. Check this out. You ready for this? All the baby boomers' money's in retirement accounts. They couldn't touch it till they're 59 and a half, right? But all the baby boomers are now getting in their late 60s. Guess what they're going to be hitting soon? They're all going to be hitting 72 and a half, right? Now, if you're the government and you know you're the government and you know that you have billions of dollars of money that is going to require mandatory distribution. There's billions of dollars. They're watching the ticker on it. Like, as soon as they reach 72 and a half, they have to start taking that money out now. They can't hide it in that IRA anymore. They can't hide it in a 401k anymore. They have to start taking the money out. If you're the government, you know that. What do you think would happen if they maybe just raise taxes by a couple percentages for income? Right? Now, if you're the government, I don't know, maybe you're not the government, but if you're a betting person and you had to bet on the future, do you think taxes, they're going to be higher or lower? So if we know in the future taxes probably are going to be higher, do we want all of our money in taxable areas? We need to try and get them now proactively. Most people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. Proactively get these into tax-free areas for retirement. And Joe, guess what? You also need life insurance for your family. So I don't go outside and kill birds. But if I was, I would try and kill two of them with one stone. And that's what this does. You ever hear killing two birds with one stone? This provides the life insurance that is absolutely crucial for our family to have for today and forever, because it is literally the foundation of financial planning. Life insurance is the foundation of financial planning. Most people think it's investments or money, of course. So for the client, this allows them to get the much needed life insurance that they have to have, but it also sets them up for the future. And now you know this for yourself. Huge. Just so if you ever sell somebody, like, they don't even realize what you're doing for them. But if you need to go tit for tat for somebody, like I met with a teacher one time and the teacher was set. Teacher had life insurance, guys. So how do you sell somebody another 100 or 200 or 300,000 who already got 100 or 200 or 300,000? Like, here's what you say. Here's what I think. Someone has 300,000. I'm going to sell them another 300,000. They buy things in 300,000s. Most people think 300,000, oh, I'll maybe try and add like another 50 or 100. No, if they got 300, I'm sure. Well, let me show you how if we double this, then we can just double everything. You know? Also, guys, if somebody got cash, real quick, let's say somebody got $30,000. And they're like, I don't need the freedom of choice certificate. I got the money saved up. I was like, all right, well, what's your funeral? Your funeral is going to cost what? 30 grand. Okay. So you have 30 grand? Yeah, I got 30 grand. Okay. All right. So what if I was able to show you a way to where I can show you how to double that $30,000 without costing you anything right now? Would you be interested in that? Because this is what I did for my family. So I had a client, they had $30,000. All we did is we just took that money and we put it into an investment that got them 5%. That he went to the bank and got a CD, gave him 5% interest. That 5%, what's 5% of 30 grand? $1,500. So on a yearly basis, that 30 grand earned him $1,500, right? And what we did with that is set that aside and put that into their freedom of choice certificate for 30,000. And now what happened before, whenever they passed away, they were going to take that $30,000 and give it to the funeral director, and then their family would have nothing. Now what we did is we set it up to where when they passed away, that their funeral director just got the $30,000 freedom of choice certificate, and their family kept the $30,000. And the thing is, it didn't have to cost them anything out of pocket. So those are for the people that say, I don't need to buy from you because I got the money saved up. I say, well, why would you do that? I'll show you how to double your money real quick. It's the same concept of this. It's like, all right, does anybody here have a car note, a loan, right? So let's say I had a Chrysler. I owed $25,000 on my Chrysler. I paid $500 a month, right? I had a couple big weeks here, AIL. I go to my dad. I said, hey, I got 50 grand over there. Might as well pay off that car real quick. I can get rid of that $500 a month car payment. He goes, okay. So if you take $25,000 out of your bank, you're going to give it to Chrysler. Okay. If something happens to you, you're not going to have 25,000. You're not going to have no money. You can't go to Chrysler. You think they care? He's like, you keep the money in the bank and you give them $500 a month, you know? So it's the same concept of why would you pay for your out of pocket? Like, why would you pay 30 to why don't you keep the 30 in the bank and you just pay $60 a month for this freedom of choice certificate? You know, it's the same concept. So anyways, just wanted to give you guys some financial stuff on that. Hopefully that mandatory distribution thing made sense, you know, and I wanted to tie it all together with that so you can see it and give like a reason why they would really need to do that, because taxes can potentially go up. And then just talk, last thing would be is if, you know, if I wanted to have $20,000 a month coming into me right now, I would have had to have $8 million saved up over the last 12 years. And I'm repeating that because where would I save the money? If I saved it in a traditional account, I wouldn't be able to touch it till I'm 59 and a half. So I wouldn't be able to retire nothing. Let me tell you something even better. You want to know what's something better for all you guys? It's so amazing. So amazing. This can't even be measured. It's unmeasurable. I don't know how to measure it. Maybe we probably could mathematically somehow measure this, but how powerful is it that everybody else has to work, work. You work, and then you retire. And then you get your retirement money. So you know, and then let's say you retire when you're 65 and you end up retiring with 10 grand a month. That means you got about 4 million saved up. So now you get 10 grand a month. That's 120 grand a year. And you get that for, let's just say you live to be 85. That's 20 years. So you'll basically get paid to yourself about 100 grand a year for 20 years. You'll get paid about $2.4 million to yourself, right? You work at AIL, you start when you're 25. By the time you're 35, if you're completely average, like I was getting 20 grand a month, if you're average, you get 10 grand a month. After 10 years, you're 35, you're going to get 10 grand a month. And then it's going to keep going up and up and up and up. You don't have to wait until you're 65. You're going to get your retirement while you're working. It doesn't even make any sense. It has no, that's why I said, how do you even measure? Like, you can't measure that. It's just such a powerful, amazing thing that nobody gets to experience. This is a crazy life. We only get one life. In our life, we get this crazy thing where we don't have to deal with that situation. So anyways, you know, the power of just the residual income. And that's why we got to move fast, and we got to move with alacrity. And that's why we got to move with high mass levels of quantity, 10x, you know. So find ways to find areas of your career that are going to make the biggest impact. Okay. I don't know, you know, if, oh man, I don't know if you 10x certain things, if it would get you the biggest, fastest results for you and your team to grow. And I know, but I can tell you there's certain things, if you 10x them, you'll blow it up. I wasn't good at much. I figured it all out and learned through experience along the way. But one thing that I knew is if I can beat everybody with recruiting, I will beat everybody, period. And Edgar was helping me clean out the closet. And if you go in the closet, there's in my basement, I got boxes and boxes and boxes of just plaques everywhere. You know, we threw a couple of them away the other day. It was just too many of them. And all of those plaques, everything, every single one of them, none of them was for me being a top ALP getter. None of them. None of them was from being a top ALP getter. It was from being a top recruiter. Promise you. They say, Tommy, you're number one for the month. You know why I was number one for the month? Because I was number one with recruiting. That's why I was number one for the month. You're number one for the month again. Number one. For I don't even know how many months. The only reason is because when you looked, I recruited more people than everybody else. There's 40 people on the report. I got the most recruits. That's why I ended up being number one. There's 6 people in the meeting. I got the most recruits. If there's 12 people in the office, I got the most recruits. If there's 4 managers, I got more hires than all the managers. It didn't matter who, I always had the most recruits. So I focused on that most because, like, I guarantee if Christina focused on it more than me, she'd have more recruits than me. But the reason I got more recruits than her is because I focused on it more. That's it. And how did I get good at recruiting? Because I did it all the time. Same way I got good at dribbling a basketball. I dribbled it off my feet. and I had to chase it around. It sucked. It was horrible. I was embarrassed. That's how I was with recruiting. I'd go up to people and I would like have word vomit coming out. I don't even know what I was saying to people, but I was saying something. And before you know it, it started coming into something more intelligent, more articulate, and it became a lot better than it was at the beginning. Just like my basketball, and then I could dribble it between my legs. I got a left hand now. But I was just worried about dribbling. But I did it more. That's why I got better dribbling the basketball than the other guy, because I did it more. And he had a head start on me. Do you know how many people had a head start on me when I came in this business, guys? That's something we got to realize right now. There's somebody might got a head start, which means they were with the company for a year or 2 or 3 years before me. And give me 8 months and I was passing them up. I was in the same boat. There was an MGA that was here for 3 years. Took me 8 months. I was an MGA. Now we're both MGAs. 6 months later, my MGA team's beating his MGA team. He'd been here for 4.5 years. I was there for 1.5 years. Because I out-recruited him. So, if you want to 10X something, guys, that's it. We're doing this contest this month. Please don't let me down. Don't let yourself down. Don't let your career down. Don't let the person out there who's counting you down. And you guys better, everybody in here, if you want to get your career going, you better get a bunch of personals in there. That'll just catapult you guys, man. If that's your goal. I said, if someone's like, man, I really want to blow up in the second quarter. I said, well, blow up this contest. That's what you better do. You better blow up this contest, be number one in the contest. And you'll be number one in the whole entire agency, man. You won't have to worry about that. So anyways, sorry for the rant, guys. Hope that was good. Wanted to give you some financial stuff today. And hope that all made sense. So appreciate you guys' time. We're rocking it this week. Looks like we're about 18,000. Give you guys a little update. The goal would be 32,000. Today will be amazing. It'll be one of our biggest days ever. And it would take us into halftime at 50 grand for the week. So if we could rack up 32,000, that would be amazing. But with a minimum of 22,000, that should be a piece of cake for us. We could get that. We'll be at least 40,000 halftime for the first week of the month. So check your corrections and stuff. Make sure your business gets sent off as usual. Put that in your calendar, actually. I would put Tuesdays at noon, an alarm in your calendar to just say, check all my corrections, just in case there's something on your apps that the staff needs. That'll give you all day Tuesday to get it done, because you don't want to wait till Wednesday. So back in the day, we used to send business on Thursday. So my alarm was Wednesday at noon. And for me, I used to run the company overview every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 11 o'clock. So for me, every Wednesday at 11 o'clock, I would be getting out of the company overview, and my alarm would go off, boom, right at noon. Every Wednesday at noon, I'd look down, it would be like, check corrections. And I'd go into my office, I'd have my lunch, and I'd pull up all the apps that the team had, and I would make sure that we had all of our corrections done. And sometimes, we were missing stuff. I had to call Gio. Hey, Gio, we still need to get this information for this guy. He's like, all right, I'm out in the field right now. I'll stop by their house. Me and him literally, we had to do a verification. You could swear, I'm not making this stuff up, guys. Verification calls. I'm like, Gio, I pulled up the apps. You have 2 big deals, which is every single week for Gio. There's big deals that needed verified because he writes big deals. And I'm like, Gio, we can't get a hold of, John and Mary, right? So I'll call him. It's 12:30 and gives him a chance. Hey, I'll try and call him. You know what? How about I'll stop by. If I stop by, I'll call you guys and we could do the verification call. He would go to their house on Wednesday, stop by and do a verification call with them on the line so we can get the business sent off by Thursday. If we were missing information on the guy's albuterol for his asthma, he would go, and we can't get a hold of him over the phone. Like, Gio, if we don't get this information, the business isn't going to get sent off for the week. So he would go to the guy's house, get the information, and we get the business sent off for the week, or he'd call him and hunt him down. So anyways, just that was just little story. I had that system set up. It was a system to make sure that my business, but also Gio is counting on me as the MGA. I'm his leader, right? He's counting on me to help him. He don't know everything. He's out there trying to produce and write business. So it's called being a team, you know? So as the leader, he don't know that his corrections aren't done or whatever. I'm gonna call my guy and hook him up. Hey, bro. Hey, just so you know, we still got to get your business sent off here, man. I would sure hate for you to think you're going to have a $2,000 paycheck and it be $200. Let's get this business sent off. He might be counting on that money, you know? So in leadership, guys, it's important to have systems in place. And that one of these systems I'm going to give you guys now is to put the alarm in your phone for corrections. And I'm saying not just for yourself, but when you have a whole team of people, you're going to want to make sure you get a head start on that. And just like a filter, it's just like a filter. You're going to check all the business. You're going to make sure it gets sent. But this is just an extra filter. So I would say Tuesdays at noon or whatever. Tuesdays at noon was a time for me, but whatever. Tuesdays, have an alarm go off, maybe right after the 10 a.m. sales coffee or something, where you just check all your stuff. And it gives you time to make sure, because it got to be uploaded and sent to home office by Wednesday at 3 o'clock or 3:30 might be the absolute latest to get those corrections in and sent off. All right. So that's it, guys. Hope that helps. Appreciate you guys and have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks,
All
Tom.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.